So what we're going to do today is we are going to mill a pocket into this 12 by 12 sacrificial piece of MDF, and my plan is going to be to essentially mill a pocket and then cut out the essentially 4-inch square coasters just using regular woodworking tools. So I just plan on cutting them out and then fitting them into this recess, and hopefully if I push them down into the recess, it's snug enough that I can use a V-carve or V-cutter on it and it comes out okay. Anything that you can do outside of the CNC is going to obviously speed things up. If I can plop in a coaster, hit the button, tell it to go, when it's done, pop it out, pop another one in, recut it. I can make multiples of these relatively quickly, even just by doing them one at a time. So if this works out, I may expand that and still maybe even going with a 12 by 12 square, putting multiple pockets in that 12 by 12 square. And again, as long as I keep a center point here with my new laser, if you haven't seen that video, check it out, the link up here or in the description. Using my laser, I'll be able to refine the center on that and know exactly where all 4 coasters are. And so that's kind of a little bit of my plan, but right now we're just going to try it out on a scrap piece here and see how it works in theory, right? I want to test my theory out to begin with. So that's what we're going to do now. Okay. Yeah. Got to change out this cutter for 1/4-inch cutter, 1/4-inch end mill. This is one way of putting it. It's just a basically woodworking router bit. Let's see here. Loosen that. The bit I have here, this is a white side. I believe it is an upcut. Yeah, it's an upcut router bit. So trying to pull the chips up and into the dust collection. One quick motion here. You might ask yourself, I'm using just using carriage bolts here, and I can put enough pressure on that carriage bolt and turn it with my fingers and just finger tighten these. It really doesn't need to be all that tight. It just needs to hold it up there. So now that we have that, I'll go ahead and turn my laser on. It should already be lined up. All right, that is now spot on. We'll bring the Z-axis down and we will zero it as well. Okay, that's right there. And we'll just grab our tall brush here because I'm using the big 1/4-inch job, and that magnet wants to come out of there. I have to make sure I fix that in there again. Now we have our G-code all loaded up, everything's ready to go. We are going to put on our hearing protection, and then I'll bring you in close. I don't know that you're going to see much because again I will be running dust collection. Speaking of dust collection, I need to make sure that that's ready to go. Pardon me, folks. Oh, tight squeeze. You can kind of see what I did here. I've got a pocket that'll fit a 4-inch square with these fillets here, or dog bone fillet, whatever you want to call it, in the corners. And then I've got a couple finger grabs here to get it out in case it's too tough. And again, this is just a scrap piece. You can kind of see this, there's a hole here, and that's because this actually was part of my old tabletop that was back there. It was one of the hunks that came off that had never been cut. And so underneath it's solid over here, but here it's where it's not full thickness. So like I said, this was just a test piece. It should be good enough, for the majority of this here, for me to put a piece in. That's not going to impact what I'm trying to do to test this theory out. And again, like I said, if this works out well, what I'd like to do is put multiple coasters on one of these so that I can keep that center point there. That way, no matter where I line this board up on my table, I'll be able to use the laser to dial in the center of the project board. And then obviously within V-Carve Pro, if I use this as my starting point and I center on that, then my coaster locations will always be identical to where they need to be. So that's kind of the intent. So like I said, I'm not gonna recenter or re-zero this. I'm gonna actually leave this here for right now and prepare some material to test it out. All right, so what I did off camera is I went and cut up a 1/2-inch piece of oak, a 4-inch square, and my pocket that I milled here, it fits in there just snug. I made it about a 64th-ish, oversized. So again, just enough that it goes in there and I can get it back out. It is tight. There's no real slop to it that I can tell. So I think it should be pretty good. I changed out my 1/4-inch white side bit for this 60-degree Amana Tools replaceable carbide insert blade. And so that's going to be what I use to do the V carving. So we're going to go ahead and give this a try right now and just to test it out. So I'm getting Mach 3 open backed up here, and I'm also grabbed my short dust shoe, or shorter dust shoe, because I'm using a smaller bit, so I don't need the long brush to have adequate dust collection. So now that we have that on, let me just go ahead and pull up the G code for one of the coasters. This is the I guess YXHC, so it's wireless, and it's the XHC model. It was a little bit more expensive than the other ones that I've seen people have, but I really like it. So I don't know, I have no experience with any of the others, but so far I really do enjoy this one. So now we can go ahead and put our hearing protection on, and we will let this carve. All right, well, let's see how we did. I realize it may be a little bit hard to see that, but it does seem to have carved just fine. I don't see where there was any real movement of the wood that you know, distorted any of the text or any of the engraving that's on there. So I'm gonna call this a success. Next project I think is going to be to make a larger board that has enough for, say, 4 coasters, because generally when I make coasters I make them in 4-packs. So I'll make a board that has a spot for 4 coasters, pop them in, walk away, let it process. Well, alright, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. Once again, I want to thank you for hanging with Harv, and we'll catch you on the next video.